Today in history, in 1981, the cable television network MTV debuted with the broadcast of the music video for Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. I didn't know that song was done by the Buggles.
Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. I am your host, Zachary, and like many other people in history, I absolutely fuck.
I'm sorry, that one really threw me off.
That was the point.
Yeah, that one... I don't know, it hit me. It hit me the right way.
It's pretty presumptuous, though, to say that other people in history fuck, because Isaac Newton did not.
Okay, but it's not presumptuous to say other people fucked in history, or else we wouldn't be here.
Nobody in history ever fucked.
That's so true. Yep. Today, my name is Meghan, and today in history, I haven't fucked, so that's my intro.
That's not your intro, but we can get to your intro now.
No, that's it. I love it. No, my intro is, hi, I'm Meghan, and I will be your fox demon leading you through the story that I have today.
Oh.
And I'm Matt. Today I learned that in the Middle Ages, it was believed lightning strikes could be avoided by ringing the church bells. This practice was very quickly abandoned as many bell ringers got electrocuted.
Yeah, because metal's fucking conductive.
Oh my
and it's
god!
The highest thing up. Jeez.
Yeah, but in the
Middle Ages were dumb.
In the Middle Ages, they thought like it was a good way to ward off the demons and the lightning. So they were like, we're just gonna.
In the Middle Ages, much like in today's, there's a small group of people that just think God will save them.
God will.
So here's my guilty secret.
Yeah, your guilty pleasure.
About no, I wouldn't call this a pleasure, because if I do it, there's a chance I'll die. I want to get hit by lightning.
Dude, I was thinking the exact same thing.
You
don't. No, listen. I understand that I don't actually want to get hit by lightning, but listen to me.
She does.
Have you seen the cool lightning tattoo?
Yes, we talked about this.
Humans already have stripes.
Humans have stripes.
Never stop wanting it.
Okay, but Meghan, here's the thing. I've been electrocuted twice in my life, and it's not fun.
But have you been struck by lightning?
No.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But if just small zippy zap is bad, I can't imagine a whole ass lightning ball.
No, I have also been
the assumption it's like giving birth. I think like your body will not let your brain remember it.
I was gonna say, I know that when you give birth, you have funny brain chemicals that make you forget all about how much it sucked. I don't think that happens with lightning.
So,
I think like painful things, I think your body, like, it floods you with adrenaline, right? It's just like, oh, we gotta get through this. But I do think that it does, like, kind of dull maybe the memory of, like, that was so horrible and traumatic that I'm not gonna let you remember that all the way. Like, we cannot.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I mean, maybe. There's only one way to find out.
Before I left...
There's only one way to find out.
Before I left for San Diego, I stopped by, like, a few stores to grab, like, a backpack so that I had a walking around bag. And, it was during that super serious lightning storm that we were having in the New England region. And as I was walking from my car to the door of, like, a Kohl's, I just thought, like, I said out loud to myself, like, I guess getting struck by lightning wouldn't be the most horrible way to die. And then lightning lit up the sky, and I just sprinted to my car.
Bro, your God was just like, okay.
God was like, fuck around and find out. You sure about that?
You sure about
like,
that?
Okay. We'll do it then. Get ready.
But anyways,
Fucking
Here
bet.
comes the choo-choo.
we should probably kick this thing off because we've been talking for a while and it's 9:30. Listeners,
well.
our strikes have been set to 0. We played a completely hallucinatory game of rock, paper, scissors in that it only happened in our minds. The order for tonight exists as follows. Zach is going first. I will be going second. And Megan will be taking us home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take me home.
Country roads.
And also Megan.
And also... me.
So, I know my intro threw Megan off a little bit.
It did.
It did.
Truly.
But I think it was an important intro, not because I want to brag, but because it relates to my story. So, weird intro aside, I figured now that we have broken the 75 episode mark, which, by the way, congratulations to us.
Way to go,
Now
us.
I am bragging.
Congrats to us. We did it.
We did it. I thought it would be time to kind of go back and add a little bit to a story I have previously covered. And if you were thinking that this story would be an important story, or one of the times that I got serious on this podcast, clearly you don't know me well enough, or my penchant for just relating back to intros in the worst way possible. So, friends, hopefully not family, and random strangers that listen to us on the internet, let's go back and talk more about some historic fuck tools.
Yes.
Yes.
Because a little while back we talked about some of the weird things that people used to get off throughout history, such as crusty bread or a crazy
Crusty bread.
sex lounger and beads that you would stick into your dick. But if you thought that's all there was
Classic.
to it, you are terribly wrong. So
I'm scared, yet excited at the same time.
Consider me scared and horny.
I am scared and aroused. As you should be.
Caroused.
Caroused.
Scaroused, yes. It's been a while since we whipped that one out. So, one of the first instances of a marital aid, as some of the more prudish members among us might call it, can be traced all the way back to roughly 26,000 BC. That's a long fucking time ago. Apparently, even cavemen like to spice things up in the bedroom.
They sure did.
The cave room, whatever. So, our Paleolithic ancestors, yes, that's right, I fucking looked up exactly what age it was in human history, because I'm a good historian, fuck you.
Nice.
I don't know why I got so aggressive
You
there,
did get
but I
super
did.
aggressive there, but, like, well done on your research.
Defending my spot here. So, our Paleolithic ancestors would use pieces of smoothed bone or smoothed stone in phallic shapes, or ivory, if they could find it, and in very rare cases, apparently teeth? Question mark?
What? Excuse me? Tell me more about the teeth.
They used teeth to get off?
Yeah.
I just
I wanna
need to
hear about the
know,
teeth.
I need you to know that anytime that teeth have been used on me, I have instantly been angry about it.
Yeah, no, I
wanna
was
know
about
what-
to say the same. Usually teeth is a bad thing, but I guess if you're...
I want to know what teeth are.
I want you to show me. And that's all that we can sing of that song.
I think by teeth, it's more of like the tusk of a saber-toothed tiger.
Oh, yeah, teeth
Rather
were
than,
bigger
like,
back then.
Human teeth? Like animal teeth,
I
you
get
know,
you, yeah.
the big ones, the big honkers.
teeth.
Oh,
The big honker teeth.
Get your big
Those
honking
ones.
teeth.
I want to know
So
what
yeah,
teeth are.
apparently prehistoric peoples would be like, this looks not sharp enough. I'm gonna stick it in my wherever.
Wow.
So, the first instances of dildos were found all the way back in 26,000 BC. So, we've been getting down on things that weren't what we're supposed to be getting down on for quite a while. I know I also mentioned at the top of this whole thing, and also in the last time we talked about it, the Greeks' kinky knack for crusty bread, and that was not the only thing that the Greeks liked to fuck around with. First off, just so much olive oil. Like, they cooked with it, but they also fucked with it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, that was their lube. They didn't have, they couldn't go down to CVS and get some KY jelly. They were like, fresh pressed olive oil. Sounds good to me.
Honestly, good for them, though.
I mean, they were the Greeks. They were doing a whole lot of, like, butt stuff. And so, I guess you need lube, so...
That's true.
You guess?
You guess.
Let me rephrase that. You need lube.
You need lube.
For that.
No, don't assume.
Kids listening at home, you need lube.
You need lube for that. Kids listening at home.
You don't.
Actually, let's rephrase that. Not children listening at home. Adults of like full age who may not or may not know. You need lube for that.
Listen here, fully grown adult people. You need lube.
I don't know, man. I think that if they want to go, non-wet and wild,
okay,
that's their God-given right.
That's pain.
That's absolutely their right. It's a
it's their
idea.
Right. It's a bad idea. Everything's better when it's wet.
Yes.
What?
It's better down where it's wetter.
Let's keep talking about the...
Under the sea.
Under the sea. We can't sing any more of that.
So, again, like, the Greeks used so much olive oil as lube, and also for delicious foods. So, just make sure you know which one is the extra virgin olive oil and which one is the lightly fucked olive oil. But the Greeks would also use leather pouches, and by pouch, I mean, like, long phallic pouches, not, like, a fucking pocket.
Yeah, well, it's the Greeks, so...
You know what? Maybe it could have been the first leather pocket pussy. That also would have been an option, I guess.
It for sure was.
But they would have these, like, long leather sheaths stuffed with wool to give them some rigidity. And they would use those as dildos. And somehow I feel like a leather dildo sounds just as bad as a bone one. But I've never used any dildo on myself before. So I guess what the fuck do I know?
You haven't lived.
Yeah, that's true. God, why don't you test these products before you come to us?
Because there's a certain, like... There's a certain thing where you shouldn't test things that we know are probably not great. Like, did they live? Yes. Could it have been comfortable? Absolutely not.
You don't know.
You're right.
We don't know
I
this
don't
for
know.
sure.
I think it's a strong conjecture, though.
Zach, honestly, if you don't put a bunch of wool in some leather and shove it in you, you'll never know for sure.
You're not living.
I'm not being a good historian unless I shove a leather dildo up my ass.
You just talked about how great your research was for this segment, and then you refuse to put leather full of wool inside yourself.
You're right. I'm failing as a historian. I think as far as like
as a historian,
fully grown adults at home, if you've tried putting leather and wool together inside of you and it worked out okay, just let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Drop us a review.
Drop us a review in Apple and tell us
5
whether or
stars.
not you had goofed with yourself in such a way.
10 out of 10 would recommend all the leather.
What a euphemism. Goofed with yourself.
Goofed with yourself.
You ever goof with yourself?
I think for as far as testing the rest of these products goes, I'm just going to pull the Procopius method and just assume. But yes, so they used leather pouches stuffed with wool, as we have said. And it's kind of hard to pin down the next little bit here, but I also mentioned last time, also at the beginning of the episode, and in the last time I talked about these things, in ancient China, men would stick metal beads full of mercury inside their dicks for pleasure.
People still do that.
Whoa.
I mean, not mercury, but people are still... It's called sounding.
Sounding?
Sounding. And people still put beads in their urethras.
Good for them. That sounds awful.
God bless them.
Good for them.
Zach, again, if you've never tried it, how could you know?
I'm just gonna assume
I'm also
going
to assume, because that doesn't sound like my kink. But
no, it does not sound like...
If you're a member of the listening audience and it is yours, we are not yucking your yum. We're just saying it's not for us.
It's not for us. But, well, men were not the only ones having fun with metal balls, because after the invention of whatever... I don't know what they were called. I could not remember. But that also led to the invention of the Benoit egg or the Benoit balls, which are little metal or jade balls that are inserted into the vagina during sex.
Woo!
And they just rattle around in there, because apparently having shit rattle around and clack together during sex feels good. What
I love about this is that Zach forgot the name of, like, the apparatus for these mercury balls. And
yeah.
I'm just thinking, how would you even go about Googling that in a satisfactory way without getting some seriously horrific images that you did not want?
What's the name of the thing to
What's
stick the metal balls
that
in
you
your
can
dick?
like put metal balls in your dick? And Google would just be like, "Hey, we're not really on board with this, but here are some pictures of a penis."
See, here's my thing. Like, every time I did research on all of these, like, different devices and different contraptions, I just wanted to, like, type in whatever it was in the Google search and then just put ... for pleasure.
You know.
Just to be really clear on it, you know?
Yeah.
But yes, so we had the Benoit egg or the Benoit balls, which for some dumb reason makes me just think of Benoit Blanc, which just makes me think of a vagina with a horrible Louisiana accent.
His accent in those movies is not great, but you can tell that he is having so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what really matters.
That's
what really matters. But yeah, so Benoit balls are actually still available at most sex shops.
Hell yes.
And are still a thing that are around. And they're also...
I'm looking them up right now.
You are? They're funky.
I want to see what they look like.
They're just little metal balls.
That just rattle around.
Yeah, but they're actually not only used for sexual pleasure, but they're also used for Kegel exercises that help strengthen the pelvic floor, because you gotta, like... hold them up in there.
They're known for... They help with incontinence.
Yeah. So...
Interesting.
There's some health benefits, too, other than just, a healthy sex life.
Wow. No, Adam and Eve. I don't want to spin for savings. I just wanted to see savings.
Them. I just want to look at
I don't want it. You know what? I'll go on to WebMD. That might have been... That should have been my first.
That should have been
it. That should have been it.
Well, unfortunately, WebMD doesn't have a picture. They're being very coy about it.
Okay. I mean...
Why people like them. Pelvic floor training.
We don't have time for this.
Sex toy.
Yes. Anyway.
I love that we're trying to be sex positive.
But also,
we do have 2 more stories to get through.
I'm trying to educate myself. I don't know about
Educate yourself later.
So, jumping way the fuck forward, because fuck you, I can. The 1960s...
He's so aggressive. Audience,
I know, I don't know why.
Audience, come in close, because I'm going to whisper in your ear again. I'm not actually going to whisper because that requires leaning, but listen. We didn't ask him to be this aggressive about sex tonight. He just came in with this energy, okay? We're sorry.
I am just passionate, okay?
Zach fucks.
I mean... Listen, I'm trying to be passionate too, but I was told to stop. Do that on your own time, Meghan.
I'm just saying we do have to tell this story.
No, it's fine. No, I heard you loud and clear. I'm doing it on my own time.
So back in the 60s, a ventriloquist by the name of Ted Marsh...
Please tell me he didn't fuck his dummy.
No, he didn't, but he does
God.
become the first person in the United States to manufacture strap-ons for a large-scale production.
Hell yes. I don't know why.
I don't really trust him. Why is he ventriloquist?
First of all, I need to know why that jump was made. Like, how do you go from ventriloquism to strap-on production?
I don't know, but apparently, like... The way I see it is he had some practice being up something's ass, so I guess he had all the necessary qualifications.
Whew, I feel bad for that doll, is all I'm saying.
I feel bad for that doll and also his whole family, because apparently his business venture was an entire family activity where, like, Ted, his wife, and his son would sit around the kitchen table carving cock molds. Wholesome family activity.
Okay, so... Husband, wife, I see that being kind of like a fun, cute little, like, when you get your son involved is when I draw the line. That child should be nowhere near any cocks but his own until he's good and ready to explore his own sexuality.
From what I understand, it was, like, not like a child,
but he was a full-grown adult child?
A full-grown adult child, from what I understand.
Well, then that's a choice that he can make for himself, I suppose.
Yes.
But still, I would be uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable carving cocks with my son.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be uncomfortable carving cocks with just my whole entire family, you know? Yeah, it just wild and weird and whatever. But originally these devices, strap-ons, were intended to be used by impotent men because Viagra wasn't out until 1998. It was used for impotent men to have sex with their wives. Not sure how popular this use was. All I know is now they're mainly used for getting pegged by goth chicks. So, it is what it is. It's still sold on the market. So... In the early 1970s, a paraplegic man by the name of Gosnell Duncan actually invents the first silicone sex toy that is meant for handicapped people. They come in all different kinds of, like, shapes.
Come all right.
Oh, did I strike?
Strike!
But they come in different shapes with different, like, straps and different attachments, so it's actually accessible for all kinds of people.
Wonderful.
Because, look, we all needs to get some.
We do all needs to
get some. And it's also really important because not only does it give accessibility for other people, but it is also the first time that many different skin tones are added to fake dicks, because Gosnell was a man of darker complexion, and so he added actually darker complexion to flesh tone dildos, because before that, flesh tone just meant white.
Yeah. As it so often does.
Yeah. And last but not least, because I guess I felt like mentioning it for fuck knows why, we're going to jump forward a little bit more into the 1980s, where Japan sets another record for the best sex toy and makes the Rabbit Vibrator, which is a 2-motor vibrator, and it only becomes popular because it is featured in an episode of Sex and the City.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Sailor Moon for a minute, and I was going to be like, damn.
Yeah, Sailor Moon and their vibrator.
You don't know. Maybe.
I maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched Sailor Moon. I guess that's one way to transform, though.
Brother, have you watched every single episode?
No, I've not no Sailor Moon.
Well, then you don't know.
Okay, so maybe in the deep archives.
Maybe in the deep archives there's an episode where Sailor Moon gets herself off.
Maybe.
Yeah, or, with Tuxedo Mask. We don't know.
I'll just take your word for it.
Okay.
They make eyes that whole show.
I don't know.
You can't tell me behind the scenes.
They make eyes at each other?
Maybe. Who knows?
Behind the artwork. They make eyes at each other?
No, it's not even behind the artwork. It's fully in the artwork, all right? They're making eyes.
Fair enough.
Oh my gosh. All right, that's it. That's all I needed to do. That's all I needed to say.
I'm gonna take us back in time, because Zach did a lot of, like, jumping forward in time.
I did.
I'm gonna take us back. The year
I'm here.
of our Lord is 1817. The day is the Thursday before Easter, which is very confusingly called Maundy Thursday. Which
It's the Thursday before Easter.
yeah, we'll just call it. It's spelled
Monday.
Maundy. Maundy Thursday. So dumb, confusing. It's the Thursday before Easter. The location of this story is a town in England by the name of Almondsbury. And the story...
Famous for almonds.
Almondsbury. And the story is about another wonderfully weird woman from history.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, baby! So,
Fuck yeah, baby.
on this Thursday evening, a woman walked through the town of Almondsbury, knocking on doors, trying to get people to answer the door for her. And when somebody finally did, this woman spoke in a language that nobody could understand.
Excellent.
The most that could be understood of, like, what she was saying is she would point to herself and say caribou. And again, this, it was in a different language, so that's probably not exactly how it was pronounced or whatever, but I'm not fucking doing a deep dive. So anyways, she would point to herself and she would say caribou, and then the other word that she could say was nanas, which is like pineapple.
Oh, I was thinking bananas.
No. But anyways, the first people that took her in gave her some bread and some milk, but like they were reluctant to let her stay the night, even though she made the motion for tired and wanting to sleep. So they were like, "No, we're not doing that. We're gonna pass you off to the man who runs the poorhouse for vagrants." And so they passed.
Oh yeah, classic.
They passed her off to the man who runs the poorhouse for vagrants, and he was like, "I don't know what you want me to do with this." And they were like, "Just take her in, let her rest here." And he goes, "Sure, fine, but tomorrow, I'm not keeping her."
Okay.
So she spends the night there, and then I think because of the language barrier, they send her back to the people that originally took her in and gave her food. And it's still just like no one can understand a word that they're saying, and the townsfolk very quickly find out that this is a little bit above their pay grade. And so they send her north a little ways to Bristol, because they figured that it was probably... they would probably handle it better. She was dressed in nice clothing. I forgot to copy and paste like the actual description of how she was dressed, but it was like a nice dress that was like blacks and reds, and then she was also wearing a turban or a headscarf that was blacks and reds, so she was like coordinated and looked really nice. But the way she was dressed indicated that she was very out of place for the region of England that she was wandering through.
Or she was just stunting on the hose.
She could have been stunting on the hose.
On them hose.
I don't think anyone in that time period really thought about stunting on the hose.
No, that is not true. I've watched enough Bridgerton to know that people do stunt on the hose.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they do be stunting.
And Bridgerton is completely and utterly historically accurate. Thank you, Julia Quinn. Please contact me.
I have not watched
your work.
Bridgerton, so I don't know about the hose being stunted on.
Look, here's the thing. All I know is Bridgerton, I'm pretty sure, because it's a Regency period, follows the best way to make a man attractive, which is put him in a ruffly shirt and then dunk him.
It's also important to note that Bridgerton fucks.
Yeah, Bridgerton absolutely fucks.
So anyways, I'm gonna keep on with this story. She could have been stunting on the hose, though.
Please,
like, we'll let that.
I'll make that assumption that she was stunting.
I'm comfortable with you making that assumption.
Thank you. I will not be changing it.
Okay. You don't have to change your mind, but you will when the facts present themselves later on in the story. So she makes her way to Bristol. She gets shipped up to Bristol. And she's passed again from city official to city official until eventually she is, like, speaking around a sailor, a Portuguese sailor whose name I also didn't record here. For reasons of laziness. But he recognized the language she was speaking as Indonesian, and he agreed to translate on her behalf.
Okay.
So, with the help of this sailor, she explained that her name was Princess Caribou, and that she came from an island called Javasu. I'm assuming that it's probably like Havasu or something, because, you know, maybe it is, but on the off chance that I'm wrong, I've pronounced it both ways, and will continue to do so for the rest of the story. She claims to have been abducted by pirates, and that while she was with these pirates, she made a decision to jump herself overboard whilst they were in the Bristol Canal, and then she swam to shore from the ship. And so everyone's like, oh yeah, that's dope as shit. And she quickly becomes the talk of the town, as she had been when she was in Almondsbury anyway. Everyone, by the time that she was moving up to Bristol, was aware of this girl who, like, spoke a different language and could only say pineapple and her own name. But she becomes the talk of the town in Bristol, and continues to behave in odd ways whilst she's in the company of all these people. One of the recorded instances of weird behavior was the fact that she chose to swim naked in a lake, which, because the English were prudes in this time, aside from the people in Bridgerton, she, like, it was really...
Well, I mean, people in Bridgerton also swim in lakes and clothes, so then it's like a wet t-shirt contest, but please continue.
Yeah. But it was taboo for her to have done that. The other thing that she does is she entertains local magistrates with, exotic dances, and I don't mean, like, strip teases, but, like, they're dances that these men were not accustomed to seeing, and thus they were exotic.
Got it.
Wow, I truly wish TikTok wasn't a thing, so I could go to, like, any consulate
and just dance
in Washington and be like, this is an exotic dance.
Have you ever seen this dance before? I start
doing the TikTok dances. Yeah.
Yeah.
I, like, put on a sound clip and I start going at it like the fuckboys on TikTok, and they're like, oh my god, this is so exotic.
She also displayed some fencing techniques. She would, like, sword battle people.
Only some.
with a sword dipped in poison, I guess.
What?
Wait.
that was just what was written. I don't think she actually fought anyone. But she was like...
Well, let's not make assumptions. Perhaps
she might have been stunting on the hose in the fencing world as well.
Yeah.
Bruh, she's stunted on everyone.
She also used to go to the roof of where she was staying so that she could pray to her god. And her god she named Allah Ta'ala. Which, like, I mean, take from that what you will. While she was in the company of all these magistrates, she was treated like a foreign dignitary. She had her portrait painted. She had balls thrown in her honor. And many of the local, like, scholarly fellows wanted to learn her language, and so they, like, had her write samples, and they sent it away for study. But, as I mentioned, the entire time that this enigma of a woman is around, stories start to get written about this woman, which gains her some notoriety, and the notoriety eventually gains the attention of a landlady who runs a local boarding house in Bristol, and she recognizes the description of the girl and decides to confront her, which leads to the story of Princess Caribou collapsing like a house of cards.
Oh no!
Because as soon
her lies
as
fall down upon her.
Oh look! If it isn't the consequences of my own actions, because as soon as this boarding lady confronts her, instead of like trying to dance and dodge around it, she just starts speaking in a perfect English and just
my god,
just fucking folds.
Instantly.
So it turns out that Princess Caribou is, in fact, a woman by the name of Mary Wilcox, who is the daughter of a local cobbler in Bristol.
Oh my god.
She had built up the persona of Princess Caribou just as a bit of fun and to make herself more interesting.
My sister was playing D&D before D&D.
Yeah. The sailor who had been able to translate for her had been an accomplice of hers. And so, like, he was just making up the story with her as she was just spewing nonsense. The written language sample that she had given to, like, a scholar, at the same time that her lie was unfolding, he received word from people who had analyzed the language, and they described it as a humbug language, which basically just means that it's nonsense.
A humbug language.
A humbug language.
That.
Scrooge would be so happy.
Is that like the official term?
That's the term that they used. In every bit of research that I did for this, when I was like, okay, language, they were like, it was a humbug language. Like, none of it made sense. So, as it turns out, what she was ultimately trying to accomplish was to start a career as an actress. And she wanted to move to America. And even though the town was, like, would have been in a perfect position to be completely pissed at her for lying and for, like, all the con and deceit of all this, one of the local magistrates from Almondsbury actually arranged for her to be sent to Philadelphia, and she spent about 7 years in America before she decided to make her way back to England, back to Bristol, where she met a man named Robert Baker, and she settled down and started selling leeches for medicinal purposes.
Oh, interesting. So she was out of the D&D business and into the leech business.
Into the leech business. But what I thought was really interesting about this story, and what makes her kind of like a wonderfully weird woman of history, well, like, the whole thing makes her wonderfully weird, but the fact that, like, she managed to find the nicest town in England, because pretty much everywhere else would have, like, after finding out about the deceit, would have been like, hey, we're gonna run you out of town and hope that you get killed by a wild animal somewhere out there. These people were like, oh, it's your dream to go to America? Yeah, we'll help you out.
Just fucking send them there.
That sounds nice. Like, we've never seen America, so why don't you go?
Let us know how it is.
And then,
send us a postcard.
And then when she comes back 7 years later, people are just, like, welcoming of her.
That's fucking wild.
She did apparently make one more appearance as Princess Caribou upon upon her return, but it was like, it was for a, I think it was just for like a local historian show type bullshit thing.
Got it.
Like, she wasn't trying to con any dignitaries or do anything like that. It was just like, oh, this is part of our local history. Come out and find out about it. And she was like, I'll show up.
I'll do the thing.
Me, a historical and prominent figure of the community.
I am a prominent figure.
I love that.
I am a prominent figure, and no one can tell me otherwise. Thank you.
Look, I love that this woman was like, I'm gonna do the con, and immediately gets caught and said, I'm no longer doing the con, but it's still like, everyone's cool with it.
It was a good, I think during my research, it was about half a year. But
Damn.
I could be...
That's a long time.
I could be wrong. It could have been, like, way less. I know that it was 10 weeks.
Okay, so that's like 2.5 months.
It was 10 weeks. It was 10 weeks of something, but I can't remember if it was, like, 10 weeks before they moved her from where she was to Bristol. But, like, either way, it took a little bit too long. But I did love the aspect of it where it was just like this woman confronted her, and instead of trying to like cover her ass, she was just like, "Oh yeah, Soup's British. So sorry."
Soup's am lying to everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about my lies, but if you want me to appear at birthday parties,
I do birthday parties, actually.
I do birthday parties. There is a fee attached, so if you guys are interested, eyebrows.
Fuck.
So anyways,
Man, I wish I was her.
that's my whole story about Mary Baker and how she conned a section of England into thinking that, you know,
she was a princess named
She was
Caribou.
a princess named Caribou that could only say pineapples.
Oh, jeez.
What a thing to choose.
Yeah,
Be like,
right.
all right, I need to have like one English word to convince them I'm not a complete
That
idiot.
might have been the
Pineapples.
only word that she knew
Yeah.
in Indonesian,
She was
and
like,
the rest of it was
pineapples.
just gibberish.
That's fair. Me too.
Same.
That's not true. I don't know anything in Indonesian, but what I do know is that we're going to take a walk across the world
Ooh.
to Japan.
Love that.
The title of my story is called Cats, the Island.
Wonderful.
Not to be
Cats,
confused.
Not to be confused with
with
Cats the musical.
the musical. Yeah. So I think we can like all agree probably that Japan has like won the soft power game.
Okay.
And for those of you who are listening who are unfamiliar with the phrase, soft power is like the ability to essentially weaponize your culture to get people to love you. America used to have this, but now all we do is like make 9,000 Marvel movies a year, and no one cares about that. Rip to people who love Marvel.
Especially because
but-
Marvel has really fallen off.
Yeah, but like,
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
no, it's just like Marvel has fallen off, but like, I don't know, looking back on it, was it ever really on top to begin with? That's my 2 cents. That's
Okay.
my hot take.
I'll be honest with you. The whole Marvel phase up to Endgame was on point for me. There wasn't a bad movie in the bunch. For me, like, there were some that obviously weren't great, but
Like, yeah.
there was cohesion to the story.
Yeah.
And then fucking Endgame happens, and they're like, we're gonna put TV shows out. We're gonna put movies out. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
watch the TV shows to understand the movies. You're going to have to
Yeah, it's too
consume
much.
75 different pieces of media in order for you to get the next movie that's coming out. Have you listened to this audiobook about my most recent bowel movement? Like, it just became so masturbatory.
Much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, like, I was listening to a thing the other day where it's like, Japanese animation studios are not really, like, resting on their laurels. They're continuously, like, pushing the envelope with how good their animation is and, like, how good... And they're coming out with movies, and, like, their merchandise is just so on point. Mm-hmm. And they're just very good in Japan about, like, getting people to care and be invested in what they produce and also, like, the country itself.
Fuck yeah.
And I think, like, this has to do with the fact that, like, Japan does have thousands of years of history it can sort of use to do that, right?
True.
Like, I mean, I know when I was little, like, that's the way that I learned about, like, I started learning about Japan. Like, I watched a lot of anime, and then I got, like, interested in, like, what am I seeing? And so then I started reading books about Japan. I think it's, like, a cascading effect. But, like, anyway, so, like, not only is Japan really good at using its culture, but it's, like, good at using its geography as well to help, like, attract tourists to Japan. So in particular, I do want to talk about Cat Island, or in Japanese, it's called Tashirojima. And, like, this is not a big, but, like, a mid-level tourist destination in Japan. So it is a small island in Miyagi Prefecture, and on the outside, it looks like pretty much all the other islands in Japan. Beautiful. I'm a simp for Japan. Gorgeous. No notes. Some notes.
They call those weebs.
Yeah, well, listen. Yes. Moving on. So, if we look a little closer at Tashirojima, we will find that it only has about 80 people living there, with a population of cats that wildly outstrips the humans by several hundred.
Fuck yeah.
Wonderful.
And, yeah, it's a lot of cats. So at least 150 cats permanently reside in one of the villages, while the rest just fuck off the rest of the time, like cats do.
Okay.
The island has no dogs, out of respect, of course. And it also has a cat shrine. Now, I'm sure by this point you're wondering how this island has anything to do with history, so let me get into the story of how the cats sort of came to run Cat Island.
Okay.
It started in the late Edo period, and much of Cat Island, which wasn't Cat Island at the time, but we will continue to call it that, was involved with silkworm farming for textiles.
Okay.
We've all heard of Japanese silk, obviously.
We sure have.
I talk about it at least twice a day.
The Silk Road is also a thing.
That's true, but that's China.
Oh, fair.
Yeah,
my bad.
They don't like each other.
I'll take a second strike for that.
Nah.
I'll take a second strike.
I feel like anytime that I actually disappoint Meghan, I should just take strikes.
Well, I mean, like, they did trade with Japan,
it happens so rarely that when she legitimately sounds upset with my inability to know things, I just feel like I should take a strike.
See, this is why I can't become a teacher. It's because I'm just like, no.
No, you're wrong.
Reminds me of that.
Man,
one scene from Parks and Rec where it's like, I don't have the patience to correct you, and then like 2 seconds later he goes, actually, it'll annoy me if I don't.
Is that Ron Swanson?
No, it's fuck, whoever. God, what's his name? I don't know. It's one of the other characters, Ben.
Ben.
I think
Ben
that's
Wyatt?
the name of the guy.
Okay, I've been in this situation explaining the difference between
Actually,
China
it'll
and Japan.
annoy me if I don't.
Actually. So they were involved in silkworm farming on this island, and the silk industry was very important. So the residents kept cats to chase the mice away from the silkworms, because mice are one of the biggest predators of silkworms, and they needed to protect them. So they were like, oh, of course, bring in the cats.
Yeah.
And then in 1602, all pet cats were ordered to be set free by the government.
Oh my god.
In order to counter the rodent population that was wreaking havoc on the silkworm industry. The government was like, this is such a problem. How are we going to solve this?
Everyone, release the cats.
Oh, they're just like, Japan has been unified. Release the cats. We've done everything else we can. Release the cats. And so after releasing the cats, I feel like this is one of those situations where you want a little of something to happen, so you bring in one group of animals, but then they're too good at their jobs. So then you bring in another group of animals, and you have to. It's a very.
It's the little old lady who swallowed a fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the snake problem in Hawaii.
Yeah.
They brought in the mongoose.
The mongoose.
The mongai.
Oh yeah.
The monguys, I think is how you say it.
The monguys. So it wasn't exactly like this on Tashirojima, but the cats were very good at hunting all of the mice, and they did start destroying some of the local wildlife and vegetation. Because they were too good at mousing.
Too good at
I
micing.
don't know.
Too good at the hunt.
They were too good at hunting. And it resulted in a thriving wildcat population. And so in 2011, the Tohoku tsunami, the one that took out the Fukushima reactor, of course we all remember, rest in peace, forced the cats to flee inland to escape rising tides and high winds, and only a portion of them came back afterwards. They weren't dead. They just found
different islands to make cat islands.
Yeah, well, there's more than one cat island in Japan, so maybe. And even though the tsunami declined the island's fishing industry, the cat tourism industry started to take off, which left some regular visitors to the island deciding to take up residence there. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, but what about the cat shrine? Because I was wondering about the cat shrine as I was looking this up. And also, do the Japanese love cats as much as the Egyptians? Which I cannot speak to, but I can tell you that the Japanese do believe that cats bring good luck, money, and good fortune to whoever cross their paths. It's one of the reasons that you see the waving,
the
waving
cat, the good luck cat
in the stores, the good luck cat. So people believed that cats themselves were the ones that stopped the whole island from sinking due to the Tohoku earthquake. They were the cats, dude. They saved this island.
Yeah.
God bless. Yeah, the cats held it up with their small paws. And the cat shrine itself is called Nekojinga and is in the middle of the island. And the story behind the shrine goes that the island, which was also known for fishing, the cats would go to the inns where the fishermen would feed them the scraps from their nets. And over time, the fishermen came to really love the cats and would use their actions as predictions for the weather and fishing patterns. And one day when the fishermen were collecting rocks for their fixed nets, a rock fell and killed one of the cats, which they then buried and enshrined at Nekojinja. And this shrine, which is essentially, while it is essentially what the island is dedicated to, it is not unique because, like, the whole prefecture has about 10 cat shrines, and they are found in areas that overlap where silkworms were traditionally raised. So, like, cats were very important historically to all of these sections in Japan where the industry relied heavily on them. And I thought that was, like, a cute roundabout history story.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Who doesn't love stories
wholesome.
about
Yeah,
cats?
Yeah, it wasn't a traditional, like, what the fuck history story where it's just like, oh, this, like, person or, like, this event happened. It's more like a place that is interesting.
Yeah. But I fuck with that, you know? That's cool.
Yeah, and like I said, there are a few other islands that are known for having a large population of cats, and I assume it's for the same reason. They used to, you know, grow silkworms.
Yeah.
And there are, like, a few other islands that are weird, like Bunny Island, which I think I'm going to explain in, like, a later on episode.
I know you've
because
mentioned
that
it
one has
to
a pretty
us before, so...
Yeah, I've mentioned it to you guys, but I think that one has a much longer history, so I'm interested to tell you guys about it, but that's my story.
Hell yeah.
As you can hear, my cat is screaming in the background. She's like, I want to be with my brethren.
Riker was sitting here with me for a little bit. Now he's gone somewhere else. But...
Probably back to his brethren.
Probably
back
to his brethren on Cat Island. Yeah.
He wanted to be with his brothers.
With the progenitor cats.
His brethren.
His brethren. All right.
Imagine if every night while we're asleep, cats teleport
back to their
Cat
brethren.
Island, and they have a cat meeting.
They have one,
and they're like,
dude, there's an entire sequel to 101 Dalmatians. That's that entire premise.
Really?
Yeah, it was a Today I Learned ages ago, but there's a whole sequel to 101 Dalmatians where the entire population of the world goes to sleep and dogs have to make a decision about whether or not they want to flee the world because of an impending apocalypse event.
Oh, the Starlight Barking.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, is this... I was thinking about the Disney's 102 Dalmatians.
No, there's like a legitimate sequel novel.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I was like, I don't remember that in the movie at all.
Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine?
That would be wild.
If I was being gaslit by
Disney?
That
would have been... No, it would have been great if that was in the sequel. If that was in 102 Dalmatians.
Fuck yeah. Or it's just like in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when all the dolphins fuck off.
Yeah, so long and thanks for all the fish.
So long. This is just like the cats. The fishermen gave them the fish and they're like, so long.
And thanks for all the fish.
Thank you.
So anyways, I don't want to go through the process of me trying to start my goodbyes and Zach interrupting me, so I'm just going to let Zach have the floor.
I was going to say, with that big yawn, I think that's the signal for us to wrap up. So thank you very much, folks.
It's the bat signal.
For listening to our silly shenanigans here. If you like what we do, we'd appreciate it if you went on to iTunes or Spotify and gave us a really good review or rating, rather. And then on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, you can give us a review. And those reviews really help us kind of bump up the charts. It makes it so that we don't have to advertise, which just makes our life easier because we don't pay for advertisement. You can also support us in different ways by going to visit our Instagram at @the_triumvirate_productions. You can find us on Facebook, or if you go to patreon.com/triumvirate productions, you can find our Patreon there where you can support us monetarily, which is, hey, we appreciate that. It does give you bonuses like our What the Fuck After Dark after show special, or unedited episodes that get released a day before everyone else gets theirs. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, or you just feel like being a pal, head on over to any of those sites, or just tell a friend. It helps us when you just kind of help us spread the word. We know some people, we don't know every person, so help us out. And with that, Matt, I think I'm all set.
And with that, Zach, you can't unmountain do what's been mountain done. So I'm just gonna say goodbye now. With the question that I ask at the end of every single recording session. What the fuck, history?